Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And here with me today, I have a diamond in the rough I'd like you to meet. His name is CJ Wiggins. He is a wide receiver out of Missouri S&T. Nice to have you on, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people really need to get to know you as an athlete. Very interesting story. Former quarterback, possesses some really good size, which I think a lot of teams would really like as a prospect. So, CJ, let's get after it, man. Talk a little bit about yourself and let's get started.
Yeah. I'm CJ Wiggins. I'm from Yuma, Arizona, and I attended community college at West LA College before transferring to Missouri S&T. And like Jimmy was saying, I up until the 2023 season, I played quarterback through high school. And yeah, in the high school, I also played track or I ran track and then played basketball. And actually, I meant to mention before I transferred to quarterback or before I moved to quarterback, I was at receiver until my freshman year of high school. So I do have a little bit of experience at receiver, but nothing crazy. But quarterback is what made me fall in love with the game and become who I am today. So
Yeah, so want to take us back to the beginning, really, and that is CJ. How long have you been playing football?
I've been playing football since I was 5 years old.
All right. Well, obviously, playing, since then, like you had mentioned, wide receiver. I mean, you were also a quarterback at a young age too. I mean, was that kind of the thing?
Yes, sir. It was it was a little bit of a transition. I did say that I switched over to quarterback around my freshman year, but in middle school I did play a little bit, but I always thought that like quarterback was one of those things that everyone wanted to play, and I didn't like that. I like catching the football more. So I didn't I kind of fought it until I accepted the fact that I wanted to truly play quarterback because I felt like at the time it fit me. And so yeah.
Well, hey, it's not for everybody. I'm not saying that you couldn't throw the ball. It's just sometimes you're better utilized in other ways, and that's okay. But
Oh, I,
it does kind of define you as an athlete. Of course, having that as part of your background. In my notes went to Gila Ridge High School there in Yuma, Arizona, where, like you said, you uh, played quarterback, some wide receiver, basketball, track. Uh, Give me maybe one of your fondest memories of being a high school athlete.
uh, I would definitely say my junior year actually. My junior season, which was in 2019, I actually didn't start at quarterback until I think the seventh or no, actually the eighth game. And after that, once I was able to get the starting job, like it was just a completely new and fascinating experience to me because like sitting behind the starting quarterback, you get to learn stuff that you might like miss as coming in as a starter in the beginning of the season. And we ended up at the time when I switched to quarterback or when I got the starting job, I we were actually 8-0, and so we ended up making the playoffs because we won the last two games of the season, which helped us get in, and we ended up getting to the semifinals, and the entire experience itself was just mind opening because I've always been confident in myself, and I was just glad that I got a chance. And then my senior year, following up with that, even though it was abbreviated, we went 5-0, and obviously I feel like that was what we should have done. And I feel like I grew so much from then, from 2019 to 2020, and even up until now. So that was probably that was a very big moment in my life that helped me define and fall in love with the game.
Cool. So, and as we had mentioned, out of high school, you end up going to West LA Community College to play first. Just a kind of let some people know. I mean, sometimes this is kind of how a lot of guys need to roll with things, like when they come out of high school. For whatever reason, sometimes JUCO is just it for a lot of people. So, and it's a for real grind,
Yeah.
trying to get through the day to day, because let's just face it. I mean, you're really separating from the men from the boys throughout your JUCO days. So, talk about those days if you don't mind, man. You get to West LA. What's going on?
Yeah, I'd say probably that was probably the most significant part of my career so far because coming in from high school and going into college, like you don't realize the change in speed and skill sets that guys have. And so going into West LA, like there were some pretty good guys on that team, and I actually attended it with my best friend. And that first day of practice was just like a complete like shock because you just the speed, especially on things like triple options, like those DNs are like they're moving, and so stuff like that. It just you're like, dang, I really have to work or else I'm gonna get out competed and I'm gonna lose my spot. And truthfully, JUCO is a that's a place you don't want to lose your starting spot because you only have 2 years to prove yourself. And so every play and all your film counts. And so I'd say I learned a lot there. I think the biggest thing was just staying consistent and staying with your craft and being confident in yourself because coaches need to see that on your film and you need to know that you believe in yourself so that your teammates can also believe in you. And yeah, so I'd say that that was definitely the most significant part of my playing career thus far.
Gotcha. CJ, what would you maybe have to say to some young athletes in high school who maybe aren't being as recruited very heavily, who may end up having to go the JUCO route, D2, D3? What sort of advice would you tell them?
I'd say the biggest thing, like I said, is making sure you stay consistent and making sure that you stay motivated, especially while staying disciplined, because staying motivated and consistent is going to push you so much further. And it's going to keep you from being satisfied. So that way you can push yourself above the competition that you're playing against to get yourself recognized at those smaller levels. And yeah, I'd say the consistency is key for sure, like a lot of people say.
Yeah, I mean, just stick to it. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just overall work ethic, you know. And so obviously it was a tough grind for you. You didn't quit. You did stick to your guns. Still a quarterback at the time there at West LA. And then you end up getting an opportunity at Missouri S&T. So talk about that transition.
Yeah, so uh, coming into Missouri S&T, I was recruited as a quarterback, and I transferred mid-year, so I was able to go through the spring and play quarterback. And it was a good spring. We did have a deep roster for the quarterback position, so there was a lot of competition at the time. And like I said, it did go good, but I felt like with the quarterbacks that we had and the potential that I knew that I always had a receiver because I've always had good hands. Like I've always known that. And I just felt like after that spring, I was kind of considering it a little bit, but I was still training at quarterback and whatnot going into the summer and somewhat into the fall. But I was like doing a little bit of stuff for receiver just in case. But I kind of knew like deep down that I wanted to play. And it's funny because going into that fall camp, I was still playing quarterback, but I was on Instagram at the time, like on the downtime. Out of nowhere, I used to have like a lot of quarterbacks that a lot of quarterbacks that from I recommended, and then one week I like lost my ball, and then I got a bunch of receiver recommended stuff like drills, uh, clips, and I felt like that was just a sign for me to actually commit to that. And so going into that second week of fall camp, I had told Coach Ball that I wanted to commit to this and that I felt like I would benefit the team more at the receiver spot overall and give a better chance for us to make plays and whatnot. So I felt like it was always meant to be, and it's just who I am as a player to keep playing receiver.
Yeah, I mean, let's just face it. I mean, there are a lot of high school quarterbacks out there. who, when they transition to the collegiate level, they are asked to switch position.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's a gut punch because they're like, oh man, really? Like, that's kind of rough, man. Like, you're telling me that, like, I can't do it. And sometimes it's along the lines of things like size, maybe they're a smaller individual, or maybe perhaps it was the system that they ran in their school. If you're running like I don't know, triple option, or something of that in high school, it just doesn't always translate to the next level because, I mean, they're wanting to air the ball out more. Do you feel like that may have played into things there for you, or no?
I mean, I felt like yeah, I would say so. Coach Ball had always during spring camp, like we would obviously switch off on reps for quarterback, and I would be the center for 7-on-7 or something. And Coach Ball would see me like catch the ball one-handed, just like very casually. And I've always kind of done that, and that was like a reason that he had kind of asked me about switching to receiver in our exit meetings in the spring. And then on top of that, my size as well is just it's just a bigger target for a quarterback to find. And so I do think that that was a factor for sure. Because I mean, if I was a head coach and I saw that from a quarterback with my size, I would probably ask the same thing, truthfully, especially with the other quarterbacks doing their thing and whatnot. So I couldn't blame him, and I do think that something like that is a factor for sure.
So let's be real here. We're looking at a guy about 6'3", maybe a smidge more. I think they have you listed at 6'4", so I don't know, maybe you're somewhere in between. Um, about 220, with some pretty good sized mitts, man. Like, they're at least 10 inches, right? So I mean, like, we're looking at a guy who is a solid size at wide receiver. Hell, could even be seen as a tight end in some ways. No, I'm just being real.
Um,
If you're like a move tight end or something, I mean, and like you said, I mean, you're a big target. And so you figure sometimes, like, you just need a big target to throw to. You need somebody who you can see.
yes,
And if you see them, then of course, bro, you're probably open more because of that, because it's like, I just got to get it in your vicinity and you should be able to bring it down. So that's good for you.
yes, sir.
Um, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about Missouri S&T, for people that may not be familiar with it. Division two program, but still a solid program for some people who want to pursue things at an academic level. Um, Give the pitch to that school and tell some people why it's been so good to you.
Yeah, so the entire reason that I ended up committing to S&T is because of their academics, and their engineering programs are one of the best in the country for sure. And I'm not saying that from a bias. I'm saying that from the rankings and the ratings that they get, and also other things like starting salaries. It's up there. It's top 10. You can find that pretty easily on the internet. Uh, yeah, they're academic. If you want an engineering career, I would say that that's one of the best you can get, especially in the Midwest. Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. It doesn't really matter which type of program it is. Obviously, you have a few like geological engineering. They definitely have they're up there for sure. I think it's not a very common major, but it's in the top three for the schools you should go to for that major. It is a smaller town, but I think that's also what makes that school good is that you feel more of a community feeling rather than going to some bigger school known for engineering like Cal, for example. That's a huge school, and the community feeling isn't as prominent because of how many students go there. But I'd say that there's definitely a more home-like feeling going to a school like that. And I'd say that if, like I said, if you want a engineering career, you should definitely consider that while also pursuing your athletic endeavors.
Awesome. You had mentioned being a geological engineer. What in the world is that?
So geological engineering, in simple terms, it just deals with building on the earth and the groundwork of the engineering aspect of the earth the earth components. And so yeah, it's basically just working with what's underneath us right now as we sit. And it can go anywhere from hydrology to mining to contracting for infrastructure. It's a pretty broad major.
All right. Well, obviously, something to roll with. Along, maybe down the line, like when your football career is done. I mean, nice to have something, man. It's something that obviously there's a need. It's just not something that I particularly am on top of. So, but
It's for sure.
but CJ, let's go ahead and continue. Let's talk more about you as an athlete. Again, wide receiver for Missouri S&T. I mean, obviously, you're growing up in Arizona. Maybe particularly not focusing at wide receiver so much since you were a quarterback at the time. But like, have there been some guys who you have been studying at the wide receiver position in order to help you develop?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd say the two big ones that I've been studying recently that are currently playing is Nico Collins and Cortland Sutton, just because those are bigger guys. And then I also watch the smaller receivers like Amon-Ra St. Brown, just because it's good to see like those guys move as well because of their releases, and they have to be a little bit smarter with how they move because they need to rely on deception more than anything rather than physical abilities and traits. And then I also watch Andre Johnson because he's also a bigger receiver. And then even guys like even the super prospects like Calvin Johnson, just because you need to learn how to as a bigger receiver, you got to learn how to be physical. And that's probably one of the best people to look at just because of how big he is. And
So keep going. Sorry.
oh no, that's all good. And then yeah, also I watch guys like Steve Smith because he's also really physical and he's just got the dog mentality. The mic dubs, I watch all his mic dubs and the stuff that he says and how he has how his passion for the game shows in the game is just something to that you can think about and build upon. So I try to yeah, those are the main ones that I've been watching, but
No,
Nico Collins are my
no,
top
you're
two.
good. A lot of great names there. I think a lot of people forget about Steve Smith sometimes, like being aggressive because
Yeah,
at first glance, he's maybe this like 5'9", 5'10" dude, but like he does not play to his size. He plays like a big individual. He will get in your face.
yeah,
And
no,
you just have to love that about him, like his overall
oh,
aggressiveness. So
no
cool.
doubt.
So, um, obviously developing as a wide receiver. I mean, you've been doing that for the past couple seasons, and you have been one of the main targets there for your program. Um, Give us an idea of like what the offense looks like there at S&T with you, and perhaps like your favorite route that you like to run for your offense.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So over at S&T, we run the run and shoot, same at the same offensive system that Hawaii runs. And in that system, there's a lot of options. You're basically just going off of what the DBs or the defenders are giving you in your route. So if you're say you have a seam and you're in the slot, like in our offense, you have the option to either the option to break it down at 15 on a deep hitch, or you can break it in if he's playing man, or you can just keep going if he's sitting flat. And so, yeah, that was it. That's a big thing in our offense. And my favorite route from that offensive system is probably the choice out that we have, where it's either you're breaking out at about 10 yards on a speed out, or you're breaking out field for a deep post. That's definitely my go-to. And I could see that the defense saw that because they started to bring help over there in bracket, that type of route. But it's my favorite route to run because yeah, it's easy yards.
Hey, obviously, the ability to adjust, like you had mentioned, really key because I mean, you do need to pay attention to your opposition and figure out which way benefits you more. Obviously, a lot of it's about leverages, and just kind of
Yeah.
utilizing things like your size. Hey, it works for you. So, um, but CJ, you've had some great games over your career there, even just at S&T. Was looking at a couple of things from this past season. Um, had a great game against Southwest Baptist, as well as an amazing game against William Jewell, where he had 3 touchdowns. When you look back at some of these, games, whether from this year or last, what would you say has been like your biggest highlight? Maybe a best game or play?
I'd say so far my best game overall has definitely been William Jewell. That, like you said, with the 3 touchdowns, and it was on. I think it was on 6 catches, so a touchdown every other catch was a lot of fun. I'd say my favorite moment or catch from either season, it had to be it was also against William Jewell, but it was last year, and it was on like a wheel route in the end zone, and I had a one-handed catch off of that. That's by far my favorite one so far. So yeah, both of them are
Cool.
against William.
Well, nice that you're able to get it over on William Jewell more than once. That's kind of nice. But I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe the past couple seasons haven't been the best, at least overall, with overall win-loss record. What has helped motivate you when maybe perhaps things aren't going your way?
Truthfully, it's just you just can't look back. You just got your only choice when things are down is just keep moving forward. Because if you look back, you're only going to compare yourself to the bad times, and that's only going to flush you mentally. So I try to just no matter how good or bad things are going, I just try and keep a next play mentality because that's ultimately what's going to carry you to keep a positive mindset. Because if you stay enthusiastic, you're always going to think positively, especially when you're looking forward rather than looking back on good or bad moments.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you kind of have to continue to look forward. And obviously, right now, looking forward to uh, things like a pro day, trying to impress some people, impress some scouts, so that you can hopefully get that opportunity at the next level. Again, we are looking at a guy who's a pretty big size, able to be utilized in practically any offense these days. So definitely put in a good spot right now. What are you doing right now? Are you training at any facilities, or how's that working out right now?
As of right now, I've just been taking the week off, letting my body recover just from getting banged
Yeah,
up
you just
this.
finished up. It's okay.
No, it's no worries. But yeah, I'm just recovering. But I do plan on starting the training again once I get to Yuma on Monday. And usually when I am out here, I end up training with AS or former ASU receiver and former Texas receiver Jalen Strong. And I do plan on going to the Exos out here in Phoenix as well to train because I know they have a lot of really good resources. And I have a
Absolutely.
there's a yeah, and so I actually over there at Exos, Will Brown, he actually played cornerback here over at S&T. So he's another resource that I have over there to help me succeed. And so yeah, I do plan on training starting really today. I'm gonna start lifting again. So I guess the answer is today. I'm gonna start lifting and continuing that through the winter.
Nice. Do you want to take a brief moment to see if there's anything else that we need to learn about CJ Wiggins out of Missouri S&T? Um, Anything that we need to know? Special talents, hobbies, interests, fun facts, like anything else about yourself that you want to share before we wrap things up?
Oh yeah, for sure. Outside of football, I love to fish. I fish all day if I'm able to, and I've been I've been doing that with my dad since I can first remember. Uh, Past that, outside of that in football, I'm learning Spanish through Duolingo and hopefully through other people once I get back home and having conversations with them. I'm currently in progress of trying to learn how to backflip, but I got to get the confidence down to get that. I know athletically I'm more than able to do it. It's just thinking about it and the scariness of actually committing to a backflip is where I got to get past. But Yeah, those are the big three right there outside of football.
Well, hey, I mean, it's nice to be able to do a backflip, but I mean, sometimes might not be worth it in the long run.
Yeah,
Um, so maybe wait, get yourself in a pool first, you know, that sort of thing. But hey, I mean, at the very least, you're trying to better yourself as an athlete, trying new things. I do know you also have a pretty decent basketball background. So that is a neat little tidbit of information there. You fancy yourself a basketball fan or what?
Uh, I mean, since I entered college and committed into playing football, I haven't been paying attention to basketball as much, but I still do keep up with it. And I'm a Warriors fan, so I do watch the games every now and then. And then I also will every now and then I play pickup. Like once I get back to school, I'll definitely start playing pickup a little bit just to keep up my conditioning. But I'd say I'm still a basketball fan, just not as big as a fan as I was back in high school. Because actually in high school, I think my number one sport was actually was basketball. I was more focused on basketball at the time, so I was really focused on that and had a really big interest on that.
Awesome. Well, certainly we're looking at a very good athlete. Even, having that great basketball background, really good size. Former quarterback who has that quarterback mentality of breaking down defenses, who just by chance ended up being a wide receiver with some pretty good size, some pretty good hands, and obviously trying to get to the next level. So CJ, as we wrap things up, talk to all the scouts out there and tell them what they'd be getting if they took a chance on you. Hit them with your pitch and wrap us up.
If you look at me, you'd be getting someone who's extremely committed, hardworking. And I'm not saying that just because I feel like everyone else might say that. Like, I truly feel like I'm committed to this, and I know that this is what I want for the rest of my life, given the opportunity. Uh, I don't feel like I'm ever satisfied, even with something like my hands, which I feel like are very solid. Like, I feel like I can always get better in that aspect because I feel like the little details especially matter in the long run, especially at the next level. So I feel like if you look at me, I'm gonna be ready and I'm gonna stay committed and I'm gonna show you that I'm able to do this and provide for you guys and your
Well,
team.
well, great. Again, a player to watch, throughout this time as he, prepares, gets himself ready for the next level. CJ, I want to wish you all the best moving forward. Okay, man.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
Sure. Once again, I got CJ Wiggins, wide receiver, Missouri S&T. Check him out.
Thank you.